Spirit Sports Consultants presents
our 2024 Major League Baseball previews. For this video, we're going to focus on the American League and give our forecast, predictions, answer the question, who wins the American League? We think this league is very balanced. You got a lot of teams at the top, defending champions for the past 2 years. Texas Rangers and the Houston Astros. I think we have a couple of other teams that might be even a little bit better. Look at the Orioles here. You got the Yankees, a couple others. So let's start first with the American League West. Again, this is a division with the defending champions for the past 2 years, the Rangers and the Astros. We'll start first with the Astros. We think they will win the division narrowly over the Rangers. We think those two is a great rivalry finally. For a while there, it was dominated by the Astros. The rotation, we got Verlander, Valdez at the top. Verlander might start off the season on the IL. See how that works out. Definite injury risk up and down that rotation. The offense is good as always, 5.12 runs per game last year. But what we really love is the bullpen. Adding Josh Hader to go along with Ryan Presley and the under-the-radar Brian Abreu, who's got closer talent, let me tell you, having followed them closely for the past couple of years. We think that could be the difference, shortening the game up to 5-6 innings per and then turning it over to the bullpen. Few teams have that luxury. We also like getting McCullers back.
McCullers is a true number 2 starter, and Luis Garcia, we always thought had the potential to be a 3, maybe a 3-4. So we like where the Astros are there. We're going to predict that they're going to tie with the Rangers. We know we're an Astros fan. We put the disclosure out there. We think it's going to be either of these two teams. We do think the Astros will ultimately win the division, just like they did last year via tiebreaker. And next up, we have our in-state rivals, the Texas Rangers. What a great season last year. One of the best ALCS in recent memory. Do props to the Rangers for winning their first ever World Series championship. They've been to a few. First one they've won, second in the state. Astros got there first. But let's not overlook Bruce Bochy, the impact he had on that team. Winning a World Series in his first season, are you kidding me? Now he has 4 championships with 2 teams. Let's not forget he also took a third team, the 1998 Padres, to the World Series. They were overmatched by the Yankees. That's unbelievable.
Of all the headlines, the rotation, he's been dominant in the postseason the past few years. Gray is really good. Dunning, and then we've got Haney and Bradford rounding out the rotation. Rotation could get a boost midseason if DeGrom and Scherzer can return from injury. This, we think, is the difference between the Rangers and the Astros. The Astros this year will have Verlander for the entire season. If you recall, they got him back in a trade midseason. We love the Rangers' offense. They could slug with anybody, 5.5 runs per game. We think the pitching difference is going to separate the Astros and the Rangers. So we like the Rangers here in second place and a wild card. Next, we have the Seattle Mariners, a team that's definitely going to contend. I think it's going to be a little difficult for them with the Rangers and Astros in this division. Look at their offense. They average 4.7 a game. The rotation is top-heavy, but their top 3 can go with anybody, especially in a playoff series. Kirby, Castillo, and Gilbert. And then the 4 and 5, we got Miller and with Brian Wu rounding out the rotation. We think the difference between the Mariners and the Rangers and Astros is going to be the offense. We look at that 4.7. We don't think they're going to be able to hang in there with the Rangers and Astros, but we do think there are going to be some low-scoring games. And they're going to be in, especially in the first half. Ultimately, we see them contending and competing with teams like the Blue Jays and the Rays for that 6th and final spot for the wild card. We think they have a good chance to take that. Next, we have the Angels losing Shohei Ohtani is a big shot. Their rotation looks like this. You got Detmers, Canning, Sandoval, Anderson, and then Silseth. We think that this team, obviously still in rebuilding mode, we think that even Mike Trout is not the Mike Trout that we're used to seeing. I think a couple of their free agent signings, most notably Anthony Rendon, haven't quite panned out for the money they paid him, so we think they're going to be 4th place. We see another rebuilding year for the Angels. It'll be a while before this team gets back into contention. Last update we had was that the A's are supposed to be building a new stadium right where the Tropicana Hotel is in Las Vegas. Great spot, by the way, real close to Cosmopolitan. Great area. Can anyone out there give us an update on this? Last we checked, there has been no firm decisions on that. We don't even know where they're going to be playing beyond the end of the lease in 2024. It's going to be a rough season for the A's. Their rotation is going to look like this. You've got left-hander Sears, you got Blackburn, the righty, Medina, Boyle, and then rounding out the rotation, we've got Beto. We think it'll be a difficult season for the A's, of course, because of all the relocation drama, and obviously a team that's leaving, they're not going to try to invest in any major payroll increases. Curious to see what happens, though, with Vegas. We think that could be a great deal for the organization. It's going to take a couple years to get there. For our American League West playoff projections, we have the Astros taking the division, the Rangers in a close second. I think they'll be one of the top wild cards. And then we think, as we stated before, we think the Mariners are going to be in a dogfight with the Rays for the final wild card spot, but they will ultimately win it with that depth in pitching. Looking at the AL Central, we see the top three teams listed here as all viable contenders. We think the Sox and the Guardians are rebuilding. But let's look at the Twins first. We think they're going to miss Sonny Gray quite a bit. We do think Pablo Lopez established himself last season, if he hadn't already, as a bona fide ace. The rest of the rotation, you have Ryan Paddock, Ober, and Disclafini. We think that's a serviceable unit. We like their offense if they stay healthy. That's been one of the biggest problems with Byron Buxton, obviously all-star caliber talent. Carlos Correa is an Astro fan. I know how good he can be, but they're both injury risk. Offense averages almost 5 per game, but they need to stay healthy. We see the Detroit Tigers as a challenger this season. We like the rotation with Scuball, Flaherty, and Maeda. We think the Twins are going to end up missing Maeda as he goes to the interdivisional rival. We think that the A.J. Hinch has finally got that team going in the right direction. We like their offense. I think Torkelson's going to be a difference maker. We think this could be the season that maybe the Lions have had the success this year. Maybe it's time for the Tigers. Let's take a look at the Tiger offense. And with a 4.1 runs per game average, they're not going to outslug that many teams. We think their pitching is going to keep them in a lot of games. We think they're going to need to increase that number, and we do believe they will do that this season. We see them, like we said earlier, as a contender for the AL Central. Next up, we got the Cleveland Guardians, and for the Guardians, don't call them Indians anymore. We think this will be a rebuilding season, and they're going to really identify how much they miss Terry Francona. I think Francona did an unbelievable job keeping this team in contention. Was probably should have been more of a bottom feeder rebuilding type team, but he's just that good as a manager. We think the rotation is solid at the top with Bieber. We think he'll have a bounce back season. McKenzie's got number one, number two potential. Bibby Williams and Allen round out that rotation. Not sure if they have any prospects coming up, but this might be the opportunity of the season to develop those and see what they can do on that front. As far as offense, they're towards the bottom of the division with 4.1 runs per game. Again, they're not going to be able to outslug teams. We think they're going to be very reliant upon their pitching and their bullpen. Going to see some low-scoring games here. That's the only chance they have. We see them finishing fourth or fifth this season in the AL Central. And another rebuilding team. We've had to update this because we already recorded it with Dylan Cease and Michael Kopech in the rotation. They've changed that, trading Cease to the Padres. So now the rotation looks like this. You got Fede, Crochet, Flexen, Soroka, and Estrini. And clearly, again, this is a rebuilding team. We see the Sox being several years away, and they know that. I think it was smart to get max value for Cease while you could. And so this is where the Sox rotation stands. Let's take a look at the offense, which took a step back last year, only averaging 3.9 runs per game, again, in what is fairly a hitter's park to our knowledge. So we see the Sox again needing to probably make a couple of moves, maybe bring some players up from AAA, test out a couple of the rookies. So it's definitely a rebuilding year for the Sox. Looking at the Kansas City Royals, we're wondering if this team is ready for contention now or if they need one more year. We're leaning towards the latter, but we really like what they're doing. They made a couple of under-the-radar moves, adding Waka and Lugo from the Padres. Waka had an unbelievable record. I think it was 14-4 last season. Some of that might have been due to the offense and some luck, but it's still pretty impressive. And Lugo's got the potential as well, along with Reagans, who was acquired from the Rangers last year, who has all the makings of an ace. Seems to us if he stays healthy, you get this top three could really keep the Royals in contention in a very winnable American League Central Division. So look at the offense too. You got Bobby Witt Jr. You got a couple of other key pieces. Some injuries if they can avoid. I think Pasquantano, I think his name is. If he can avoid injury, we see them improving on this. Average runs 4.2 per game last year. We think they've got tremendous upside. We're wondering if it's this year or next year. Like we said before, we're leaning towards next year for them to take the division. We like the Detroit Tigers as the American League Central champions for 2024. We think they've got enough. They've been rebuilding. We think and unlike the American League Central, we see the American League East having 4 potential teams that can make the playoffs and even win the division. Look at the Yankees, Orioles, Rays, and Blue Jays, all as a viable threat. Look at the Yankees. We had them ranked first. We now move them to second after Cole's injury. We think the Orioles are just a little better. We thought they might go after Snell, but it looks like their rotation is set with Cole, Stroman, Cortez, Rodon, and Schmidt. We think Stroman and Cole at the top give you a nice 1-2 dual aces.
And next up, we have last year's American League East champion, Baltimore Orioles. Boy, were they hard charging up until the playoffs. And then they ran into that Texas Rangers buzzsaw, got unexpectedly swept as the home team. That was a little bit surprising. For this year, we think they're going to be right there with the Yankees. We can see them win the division. Could be 1-2. For now, we're going to say we see them winning the division. We love the fact they added Corbin Burns, and then again, being able to bring up Jackson Holliday sometime mid-season before that, that's a huge add. Bradish and Rodriguez, and you have one of the top rotations in the AL East. And we love that offense. Look at what they did last year, and possibly prospect Jackson Holliday coming up this season. Could have a lot of balanced right-left hitting. They averaged 5 runs a game last year. We think that could even increase this year, so look out for the Orioles. And as we said, the Orioles averaged 5 runs a game, technically 4.96. We do round up here. So we see that offensive numbers even going up if they can add Jackson Holliday. So you might be averaging around 5.3, 5.4 per game. And next, we've got the Tampa Bay Rays. Kevin Cash should be given Manager of the Year consideration every year for what he does with his team on a low budget, especially in that competitive AL East with basically deep pockets of the Yankees and Red Sox. Average runs last year, 5 runs. We like their offense. We think that's the strength of this team. Pitching, we lose Glass now. McClanahan is out. We think all of 2024. They might get prospect Shane Baz back in the rotation, but we like the rotation the way that it is. We like the way that Tampa manages it. You're going to see a lot of bullpen games here. Starters might go only 4 to 5 innings. Got a deep bullpen. We think that they're going to be in contention again. However, this year with the Orioles and Yankees better, we think they're going to be on the outside looking in. It seems like every season we predict the Rays are going to take a step back, kind of like what we just did, and that the Toronto Blue Jays are going to take a step forward. It never seems to happen. Look at this lineup and this rotation. We don't understand what's going on. We expect maybe Springer and Vlad to take a step back, but last year, and then with Alek Manoah with the drop off, we don't know what's going on in Toronto. But with this rotation of Gausman, Barrios, Bassett, and then if Manoah can have any kind of a bounce back to what he did in 2022, this team could make a wild card. And now with an update for the Red Sox, we're re-recording this after the Lucas Giolito injury report. Apparently his injury is so severe he will be out for the entire season. So the updated Red Sox rotation now is going to leave you with Bello, Pivetta, Crawford, Whitlock, and Houck. And that should round out the rotation. Obviously the Red Sox are going to be in more or less a rebuilding year for this one. Might be up to the offense, averaging 4.77 per game to pick up the pitching, but we still don't think it'll be enough to avoid a stellar finish for the Sox. And for our AL East playoff projections, we've got the Orioles narrowly winning the division, Yankees making it in as one of the first wild cards, and then the Tampa Bay Rays fighting with the Seattle Mariners might be up to the last week to get that final wild card spot. We ultimately think that Seattle's going to take it, but we see Tampa Bay maybe in a play-in game. So here are our playoff predictions. We like the Orioles, Astros, Tigers, Yanks, Rangers, and Mariners to make it. We see for the second round, we like the Orioles, Rangers, Astros, and Yankees. And then for the ALCS, we see the Battle of the Orange, the Orioles against the Astros, who will make, their 9th straight ALCS. And then, unfortunately for us Astros fans, we see the Orioles winning the American League and being the AL champs for 2024.
That's all for this time. Thank you for joining. Please subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to sharing our future videos with you.